So every lazy media outlet is pushing a new study saying American extremists have killed more people than Islamic extremists. There's just one problem. The study omits 9/11. Yes, they started counting the bodies after that date. That's like saying since Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, attacks on Pearl Harbor by Japan have decreased. It's like me saying, since breakfast, I haven't had another breakfast. So why did they start counting death after 9/11? Two reasons. It magically removes 3,000 victims from the Islamic terrorist side, but it also ignores the fact that it's our response to 9/11 that reduced further attacks by radical Muslims. It wasn't any humane decision to cut back by the terrorists. 9/11 led to heroic efforts to end more attacks. So the statistics don't expose American extremists at all, but American heroes whose great work stopped more Islamic terror. But instead of crediting those who thwarted attacks, you have these bozos, the New America Foundation, run by former Obama flack Anne-Marie Slaughter, using the reduction to fabricate an absurd comparison. This study is as scholarly as I am tallerly. But it proved one thing, how readily the mindless media embraces such glop. Here's ABC's take. U.S. radicals bigger terror threat than jihadis in America. Talk about a headline from a weak spine. So, Julie, what was the point of this report, you think? It's such an obvious joke. Why would they do this?
I guess in light of what happened last week,
right?
They wanted to do this. I am trying to find something that I disagree with you about on this, but I'm having a tough time. Oh. You actually raised a good point. And yesterday, I would have disagreed with you, but that was actually very well put.
If I can just change one mind, my work is
done. You did. Well, I also, but I will say this. In light of what happened in Oklahoma City back in 1993, I think we did pay more attention as a result to homegrown terrorism. And then 9/11 happened. And I'm wondering, regardless of the study, I'm wondering if we took our eye off the ball to some extent and focusing so much on Islamic terrorism that we didn't pay as much attention after 9/11 to terrorism here, homegrown terrorism here at home. I don't know the answer to that.
I know the answer. The Islamic ball is way bigger. You got to look at that ball. The other ball way smaller, Eric. Is my ball metaphor working?
No. Drop it. But I like it.
Roll away like a hot potato.
One of the other sub-studies in the study was what do local law enforcement, what groups are they most concerned with? And number one was anti-government extremists. Now, I think they're lumping all those people, I think they're calling those right-wing extremists in one of the studies, so that's a little concerning.
Yeah, that makes Bill Ayers a right-wing extremist.
Right. And number two is al-Qaeda, or terrorists. So and again, when you poll a local law enforcement, of course they're going to be worried about what's the most, they're not going to see the bigger picture terror. I'm guessing they don't have a terror, besides New York, L.A., Chicago, maybe a couple other cities don't have a massive terror task force. But if you polled the FBI or the Joint Terror Task Force, I would think, and I don't know this, but I would think that they would be heavily skewed the other way towards terror being a much more imminent danger threat than right-wing extremism.
Yeah. Dana, does the media believe this stuff because they want to believe it?
I don't know. I was just thinking.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, well, this is not a new theme. Okay, do you remember Secretary Napolitano when she was at the head of Department of Homeland Security? Early on in the Obama administration, one of the first things that she did was come out with a report and a study that said right-wing extremists are more of a concern to us than terrorism. And it caused a huge kerfuffle, and they had to walk it back a little bit because I think they were indelicate in their language. But the show that you and I really like, Justified? In either the first or the second season, one of the main issues was right-wing extremism. That was one of the themes throughout the show. It's not that it doesn't exist, but can you equate it with 9/11 or with Islamic extremism? And certainly not counting 9/11 is disingenuous.
Yeah. This is a flawed study. They wanted to have a specific outcome. It's like they take out all the parts that don't work with what their end conclusion is, their hypothesis. I mean, so you can't really give it the credibility that they would like it to have because it's like flawed in its whole premise. I mean, how do you exclude 9/11, everything? I mean, they're trying to come up with one specific political outcome and statement. It's very obvious.
But is the problem here that you don't like the term right-wing? Because I agree with you that it's not. I would rather use the term homegrown, right? Forget right-wing, left-wing, because you're right. So let's just say homegrown terror by
So is a homegrown terror who happens to believe in jihad?
Right.
I mean, where do you put that one then?
Well, that's actually why Megyn Kelly last night, when she was on the show, talking about the special that she had last night, the exclusive interview with the beheading victim, or the attempted beheading victim, she was saying at the end of it that maybe we need to actually do some thinking to redefine terrorism or how we are actually
redo the classification,
Perhaps.
change the laws on it.
That's true, because this guy who did what he did in Charleston last week, is he a terrorist? I would argue that he is. Others would argue that he wasn't. But
like the FBI director said not.
right, and I think that's wrong. But,
Yeah, meanwhile, ISIS is still at work. They did a new round of executions. They drowned a bunch of guys in a cage. It was one of the most horrible things. I don't know, Dana, are we becoming inured to this stuff? It seems like...
Well, partly also remember, because there's not an American in the cage.
Yeah.
That does remove it from our front pages. We have a lot of problems here in America. That's what a lot of people try to focus on. But remember what the terror director said last week. We are at more risk of a catastrophic terrorist attack on American soil than we have been since 9/11. So it is time to maybe refocus the mind and think about all kinds of terrorism, including this that the study in the Department of Homeland Security say they're worried about.
Yeah, and the thing is, we can't show. Like, nobody knows what ISIS is doing because we can't show it. It's too gross.
More money to the FBI.
Yeah.
More funds.
All right.
All right.
I can agree to that.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.